know what I was gonna say. I was gonna launch into a whole thing, but we don't need to do that. Hi guys, welcome back to the Book Brood, and today we're doing part 2 of our January wrap up. So I failed epically on my reading for the last part of January, so I have only 4 things to talk about.
Okay, well, I have sort of 5 things, so I'll go ahead and talk about Claymore. I read some manga. Claymores Volume 3 through 12. I had to return them to the library, but I really enjoyed these. I have not enjoyed a manga like this since like Attack on Titan. So I'm really glad I found it. I've just been burning through them. I've been waiting for other people to return volumes to the library so I can continue with the series. It's getting much more into the histories of the characters themselves, more of the Claymores outside of just Claire, the main character, and into their organization and politics and just really the things that I love so much about Japanese storytelling and that tends to be in manga.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was reading several of them a day. I rated 3 through 9 4 stars, and then I rated 10 through 12 5 stars, and I rate comics and manga purely on enjoyability of reading. I don't expect them to be moving in any kind of literary sense. I know they can be, but yeah.
That makes sense. Awesome. Okay, the first thing I read is Shutter Volume 1 by Joe Keating. And this took me by surprise. I really wasn't expecting much from it, but I absolutely loved it. It was a roller coaster ride because I didn't know where the story was going, but it just was very fast paced. It's set in a world where there are aliens and talking dinosaurs and talking skeleton people, and there's spaceships, and it's just a whole. So the main character has a cat that I think is also a clock, and it's like her sidekick. I don't know, it's so weird and bizarre, but I absolutely loved it. The main character is like a Laura Croft character, where she was an adventurer when she was younger with her father, but then her father passed away and she stopped adventuring, and then come to find out that her father was keeping some really big secrets from her, and she's starting to figure out family secrets. And it was absolutely amazing, and I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. All right, and then I'm just going to quickly do this one, Esperanza Rising. This was for Diversathon. I gave it 3.5 stars. If you want to hear more about that, go ahead and watch our Diversathon video.
Yep. The next one I read was Nailbiter Volume 4 by Joshua Williamson, and I love this series. I think that they're consistently awesome. I think I've rated them all 4 stars, and this was the same. It's just the same high quality story and gore that I absolutely love, and I'm really impressed that I haven't really found any slumps in the stories between the first 4 issues. It's just a continuous enjoyable story, and I mean, I can't really talk about plot because it's the 4th one, but I'm fully immersed in the world. There's less mystery happening and more plot development, and growing used to all the characters and loving all the characters, and it's really good. 4 stars.
Good. And this was another one I did for Diversathon as Marry Him, The Case for Settling for Mr. Goodenough by Lori Goodlieb. I could go on and on and on about this one. It's about strategizing on finding the best partner that you can for a life partner, and that it's easy to get caught up looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, and that essentially Mr. or Mrs. Right may not actually be what's right for you in the long run. I gave it 3 stars. I did get a little long-winded at the end, like it was just trying to go for page count, but it was such an enjoyable read.
That's fantastic. I know you really like that. The next thing I read is I Hate Fairyland, Volume 1 by Scotty Young. And this is such an. I have to be careful which pictures I show. This is such an enjoyable story. I love the artwork. I'm not sure how much you can see, but it's very much like a colorful rainbow fairyland with all the traditional elements. But then it is this girl who's been stuck there for 30 years and she can't find a way home. And she is so mad that she is just murderific and she's just venting out all of her frustration on all these poor little adorable creatures. And so it's very bloody. And I love the cursing that they put in this because she was like 7 when she was taken into Fairyland, so she doesn't use traditional curse words, like she made up her own, but you can tell what they're supposed to be, you know? And it was very enjoyable. And I was a little bit hesitant because of the ending, because I have heard Helen from Capricious Helen, I think that's her channel name, I'll link it below. She didn't like the ending. She thought the author wrote himself into a corner. But I thought the ending was absolutely fantastic. And I am very intrigued to see where the story goes from here. So I gave it 4 stars.
Awesome. All right. And then I read The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. This was the last of the 3 novels that I had on my top 100 list by Le Guin to read. This is about a physicist that is living in a very binary society of a planet and a moon, and each has their own way of life that are very, very different. The moon people, which is where he is from, is very altruistic, and it's very, everyone, we're all in this together. If we don't work together, if we don't share everything, we won't survive. And then the planet is extremely capitalistic. And so it's essentially him trying to get his work recognized in a proper way. He wants it to be appreciated, which his people don't really appreciate it, don't need it. And then the capitalists on the planet just want to use it to profit and to essentially gain an upper hand against the more outer planets of humanity. This was good. It was culture clash, like Le Guin is very good at. It was not as good as The Left Hand of Darkness, and it wasn't as exciting as The Lathe of Heaven. I gave it 3.5 stars, though. It is a very good one, and it's very worth a read if you like Le Guin.
So that is book 1 in the same series as Left Hand of Darkness.
Yes, and Left Hand of Darkness is book 6.
Yeah,
I think in it, but
it's not necessary.
It's not necessary to read The Dispossessed before The Left Hand of Darkness at all.
Okay, the last thing that I finished was Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, and I talked about this in our Diversethon wrap-up, so check that out if you want to know more. But I enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars.
And then the last thing I read is A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. This is a story about essentially the narcotics world of drug users, narcotics agents, and it's about an undercover agent who is essentially sent to investigate himself just due to the secrecy of how the narcotics agents work. They work completely in this anonymous environment, and so his superiors send him to essentially make a case against himself so that he can be arrested. And so it's a very strange adventure, but has a lot of commentary just on addiction and behaviors of addicts and kind of ridiculousness of criminalizing drugs and how dangerous it becomes when you just decide that it's a crime problem,
right?
And that it can just be solved through jailing people. And yeah, and it was just a very, very fascinating read with the characters that were involved. The main character starts to have an identity crisis of who he actually is. But anyway, I gave this one 4 stars. Another great example of Philip K. Dick and the complexities of story and how he can structure it.
And that was the end of our wrap-up for January.
Go ahead and leave us some comments if you've want to read anything here. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. We'll see you next time, everyone.
Bye.